Dreamscape presents The One Night Stand Next Door by Emma Hart. Narrated by Avery Reed. Chapter 1. I didn't understand apartment building parties. In fact, until I moved into my new apartment 8 months ago, my only experience of them was that episode of Friends where Ross pissed off all his neighbors. Now, I was getting ready for my third party. I was starting to think I'd moved into the wrong building. I wasn't really a party person. Not that I didn't go to parties, I did, like once a year, and usually only for half an hour before I made an excuse and left. I didn't know if it was because I was an introvert by nature, or because when I was a child, my staunchly Catholic grandmother drilled into me that only hookers, pimps, and drug addicts went to parties. Probably a mix of both. She was a delightful woman, really. "Just don't go," my best friend Victoria said. I picked up my phone and looked at the screen. I wish I could get out of it, Tori, but Vincent has knocked on my door 4 times in the last week to make sure I'm going. She waved her hand. Vincent is 83. He'll forget you never showed. It's his party, I reminded her, grabbing my hairbrush. His birthday party, and his forgetting is why he came over 4 times. I adjusted my phone so it was standing on my dresser so I could finish getting ready and still talk with her. Oh, so it's nothing to do with Kai then? My cheeks flushed at the mention of my hot neighbor. Absolutely not. Kai is my neighbor, and I'm not even sure he's interested in me like that. Seriously, Ivy? When we saw him last week, he practically undressed you with his eyes and fucked you on the stairs. Tori! It's true, she laughed, reaching up to twist her long black hair into a messy bun. He totally wants you. Okay, we're not having this conversation. I'm pretty sure he has a girlfriend. No, he doesn't have a girlfriend. How do you know? I saw him in the grocery store and asked him. I sighed. Of course you did. She grinned. You're welcome, by the way. You know you won't stay long at the party, so why don't you just leave with him instead? Okay, goodbye. I leaned forward and hung up before she could go any further. I wasn't going to talk about Kai to her. Yes, I had a crush on my unfairly sexy neighbor. Yes, I kind of wanted to climb him like a tree and ride him like a bull. Yes, I'd had more than one dirty dream about him since I'd moved in. But that didn't mean anything would happen, because despite what Tori said, I wasn't sure Kai was interested at all. Also, sleeping with your neighbor was never going to end well. For anyone. My phone buzzed and I tapped the text message that came through. Tori. Bow chicka wow wow. Me. Shut the fuck up. I tossed the phone onto my bed with a shake of my head. She didn't know when to stop. I was not going to sleep with Kai, no matter how many times she brought it up. Even if he was interested, it wasn't going to happen. Maybe. Probably. I put some mascara on my invisible eyelashes and gave my blonde hair one last comb through with my fingers. If this party wasn't Vincent's 83rd birthday, I would have found a way to get out of it, for sure. Have you ever told an old man you couldn't go to his party? Have you seen those sad eyes that could give a rescue full of puppies a run for their money? Yeah. I tugged my jeans up and slipped my feet into some ankle boots, then picked up my phone and left my bedroom. I still had time and I hadn't eaten yet, so I was going to run out and grab some takeout before I showed my face for half an hour at the party. I opened the door and almost walked right into Kai in the hallway. Whoa, where are you running off to in a hurry? You know Vincent will be pissed if you skip out on his party. I pursed my lips at the tall, sexy, smiling man opposite me. I'm not skipping out on his party. I'm hungry. I was going to get dinner. You know there'll be food there, right? Yes, but I also know Vincent has a penchant for tequila, and I'm not playing his drinking games on an empty stomach. I dragged my gaze away from his bright blue one and locked my front door. Don't worry, I'll be back on time. Thank God. You're the only person in this building who isn't the other side of 35. 35 is hardly ancient. I know, but when you're a divorced mother of 2 and you don't get the message that I'm not interested, it's inconvenient. He locked his door with another grin, but I saw the trepidation flash in his eyes. Ah, I see how it goes. I replied, shoving my keys in my ass pocket. You want me at the party so you can use me to keep Amanda away from you. Amanda was a 36-year-old divorced single mom who was even newer to the building than I was. She lived on the ground floor with her 10-year-old twin boys, a fact we were all grateful for obvious reasons, and she'd taken a big shine to Kai. He told her 1,000 times he wasn't interested because he was 8 years younger than her and had no idea what to do with 2 children, but she was persistent. I also knew that her ex-husband had the boys this weekend, and she liked to let loose when it was his weekend. I'd seen her stumbling into the building after my shift at the bar more than once. Hell, I'd put her in a cab more than once, too. But hey, more power to her. I'd probably get completely hammered if I were her, and I knew I didn't have to wake up at the ass crack of dawn to 2 noisy boys the next day. Kai groaned and clasped his hands in front of him. His biceps tightened, and the phoenix tattoo on his left arm flexed with the movement. Ivy, please, help a guy out. I folded my arms across my chest. And give Mrs. Valentino ideas about us again? I think not. Oh, come on. There are worse things than an elderly Italian lady thinking you're my girlfriend just because we were doing laundry at the same time. Yes, like Amanda thinking I am. I dropped my arms. She doesn't like me anyway, and the last thing I want is a childless Amanda going heavy on the Patron on the roof. He paused. Yeah, that's problematic. You think? I raised an eyebrow at him. Anyway, I'm going to pick up Chinese food before all hell breaks loose here. Chinese? Yes, I said slowly. I could go for Chinese. I don't remember inviting you. I'll pay. It took me all of 1 second to change my answer. Done, but you have exactly 2 minutes to get changed because you're not trampling all that dust in my car. Kai looked down at himself. Yeah, all right. Hold that thought. Thankfully, he kept his word and did not trample construction site dust and dirt all over my clean car. Seriously, I paid a pretty penny to get this detailed last week, which was exactly why I was happy to let Kai buy me dinner. I really had to stop leaving trash in my car. Either that or I had to ask my dad to blast it with the hose pipe every now and then. Okay, but have you ever actually told Amanda you're not interested? I leaned over the table and dipped a crispy beef strip into his spicy sauce. He glared at me for doing it, then swiped some of my beef from the container. We'd gotten takeout only to sit on the tables outside the only Chinese restaurant in town. Yeah, I've told her. She doesn't listen. But have you actually said, Amanda, I'm not interested. Go away. He scooped some rice into his mouth with a spoon. I don't know. I pointed my chopsticks at him. And therein lies your problem. Women don't like ambiguity, Kai. We're not here for little hints or any of that shit. Just say it. We have better things to do than try to figure out the simple creatures that are men. Because you're all not exceptionally complicated beings. And total bitches, I agreed. If you want Amanda to drop it, just tell her straight. And I mean straight. Kai sighed. I don't want to hurt her feelings. Okay, seriously? There is no way to tell someone you aren't interested and not hurt their feelings. Do you have much experience with it? Yes. Haven't you noticed the long line of gentlemen callers at my front door every day? I drawled. I didn't want to say anything. I stared at him. Kai, focus. I snapped my fingers. You have to be honest with her if you want her to leave you alone. Really? Especially if she's a moral-less, tequila-loving mother of 2 just trying to let loose after a bad divorce, I confirmed. Ivy, I know, that wasn't helpful at all. At least you're aware that your advice is complete and utter shit. Hey, I told you I didn't invite you to eat. It's not my fault you insisted on tagging along. Actually, you agreed the moment I said I'd pay. What can I say? I like free stuff. I like food. If it's free food, it's pretty much the tip of the iceberg when it comes to things that excite me. I shrugged one shoulder and picked up my bottle of water. Well, at least I know the way to your heart. He winked and stole the last bit of beef from the container. Free food. I reached over and plucked the beef strip from his hand. Actually, there's a long and convoluted path to my heart that is only partially paved by the way of free food. Most of it involves the approval of my staunchly and traditionally Catholic grandmother, who has the personality of a hungry shark on the set of Jaws. He raised his eyebrows as I shoved a bit of beef in my mouth. Really? Really. She's a wild one. You can't breathe at Sunday dinner without her judgment. I hesitated. Of course, she's also a wino and total reality show addict, which means she prays to God at least 5 times a day and 8 times on Fridays. But I digress. And we won't even go into her being taken to the ER in a huge rush 2 days ago for stomach pains that she swore was appendicitis. Was it? Appendicitis? No. 8 hours of tests later, and we found out the damn woman hadn't taken a shit for 3 days. She was constipated, not dying. She'll still tell you she saw the light, though. Kai's lips twitched, but the laughter shone in his eyes. She sounds like a hoot. We need her in our building. We most definitely do not, I said firmly, wrapping up the last of my food to throw into the trash. If she moves in, then I'm moving out, and then you'll have nobody to keep Amanda under control. I don't know. Does your grandmother like younger men? She sounds like she could help. I tossed the trash in the can and glared at him. Don't ever say that again. Kai laughed, gathering his own trash before throwing it out. I was kidding. I'm not into women that are that much older than me. Unless they want to pay my way, of course. Oh my God, I can't even talk to you. Come on. He caught up to me and after throwing his arm around my shoulders, squeezed me into his side. Let's go party like it's 1944. Chapter 2. This was a shit show. I wasn't surprised, not really. All the parties I'd been to since moving in here had ultimately ended up this way. There was nothing like a bunch of pensioners partying like they, well, weren't pensioners. Shots! I froze at the call. Kai was doing nothing but encouraging them now. We were on the roof of an 8-story building, for the love of God! Sure, the fencing panels were 10 feet tall, but one of these old people was probably a secret pole jumper person. Nothing would surprise me at this point. 6 of our elderly residents, including Vincent, lined up in front of the table as 81-year-old Isabella Valentino poured tequila into each shot glass. 73-year-old Kenneth Miller followed behind her, dishing out lime slices for each person to use with their salt shaker. I shook my head. This was going to end in tears. Old people weren't made to drink tequila like this. But then again, our elderly residents partied hard. I'll take a shot. Amanda stumbled over to the table, only to be caught by Kenneth. Is it my turn? Isabella Valentino raised her eyebrows. Yes, dear. Come with me. There are more at the bar. It wasn't a coincidence that both tequila and water were clear, I was sure. I perched on the edge of a bench that had planters at each end. They were bursting with flowers I couldn't name, but they added a welcome burst of color to the otherwise dreary and drab roof garden. It was a communal area, but aside from the 2 benches like this, there were no other plants. I tried my hand at gardening, but I was so skilled that I could kill a cactus. And by could, I meant I had. 3 times. The desert was jealous of me at this point. The oldies all did their shots, and as the discarded lime skins were gathered up, Kai walked over to me. Did Mrs. Valentino just take Amanda? Uh-huh. I nodded toward the bar. To get some water disguised as tequila. That's probably a smart idea. And here you were concerned that it would be one of the oldies who were going to fall off the edge. I shuddered. Don't even joke about that, Kai. You'll tempt fate. Fate? Fate doesn't exist. I'm not getting into a philosophical discussion over tequila on a roof, I drawled. You don't look like the kind of guy who believes what I believe. Why don't you try me? Try what? Your patience? He swept his arm out at the company we were keeping. You can't try it any more than these. Okay, fine. I downed the last of my tequila sunrise. We apparently had a mixologist in our mix, and put the glass on the bench next to me. I believe in karma and the Wiccan rule of 3. I think astrology is real, and I believe in tarot readings. Ghosts exist. Psychics are real, and voodoo is a dangerous power. Without blinking, he said, "And crystals have healing powers, right?" "I have no idea. I haven't made it that far down my grandmother's Hui list of rebellion yet." "Hui list of rebellion?" "Yes, it's basically a list made up entirely of the reasons why I'm going to hell." "Is there room on that train? If not, I'll drive." I raised an eyebrow at him. "You don't believe in all those things?" "No." He sipped his drink. "I think karma is real and that ghosts exist, but you lost me on everything else. Maybe there's something to astrology, but I don't care enough to give a shit in all honesty." "Your honesty is endearing," I replied. "I think." Laughing, he picked up my empty glass. "Another drink?" "Sure. If I'm going to stay the required 2 hours, I'm going to need to get drunk. And hopefully not fall over the fencing." "Shut up." Grinning, Kai headed toward the bar, only to be replaced by the birthday boy himself, Vincent, who took his seat and immediately launched into a story about his latest fishing trip with his grandsons. "And then," Vincent said, leaning in, "the fish flopped out of my hands, back into the lake, and splashed us all." I laughed. It really wasn't that funny, but I had been raised to be particularly polite to my elders, so here I was, laughing. "How are you, Ivy dear?" Vincent asked, swirling the last of his tequila around the bottom of his glass. "Have you had a date recently?" "None approved by my grandmother," I replied dryly. "I saw you having dinner with our Kai earlier." "Huh? Oh, right, that was nothing." I shook my head. "I was heading out to get food, and he accosted me in the hall and decided to join me." "I quite thought you'd make a lovely couple." Again, I shook my head. "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not really looking for a relationship right now." "Ah, but that's when you find them." "When you find what?" Kai rejoined us and handed me a tequila sunrise. "Love," Vincent said. "I was just telling Ivy how I thought you'd make a nice couple." Oh, God. Here we go. "You know what? I agree with you." Kai winked at Vincent. "But she won't go out with me." I snorted. "You've never asked." "Fine. Will you go out with me?" "Wait, what?" He turned to Vincent. "You heard that, didn't you? That was as good as no." Vincent nodded. "I did, boy. I did." "Oh, my God," I muttered. "You're both crazy, and I know crazy. My family are the poster kids for crazy." "She's still saying no," Kai tutted. "I am not saying no." "So are you saying yes?" My cheeks burned. "Shut up. You're only doing it because Vincent's here. Besides, we had dinner earlier." Vincent tapped my knee. "You told me that was nothing." "It was nothing." "Then it doesn't count." I wasn't going to argue with these men anymore. Instead, I sipped my drink as Kai took a seat on the other side of Vincent. There was no doubt these two were going to go on and on about something that was completely ridiculous all night long. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out. Tori. "Did you bang him yet?" I rolled my eyes so hard they went into orbit. Me. "I need new friends." Tori. "Is that a yes?" Me. "It's a no." Me. "And I'm not going to. Stop obsessing about my non-existent sex life." Tori. "I can't until it becomes existent. Girl, you go any longer before you get laid, and you're gonna need an archaeologist to help you out." Me. "I'm not sleeping with my next-door neighbor." Tori. "Oh, no. Has the tomb already closed? A big old rock rolled over there a la Jesus?" Me. "I'm gonna roll a big old rock on your head if you don't shut up." There was no talking to her. Really. Why was I surrounded by people who didn't listen to me? Sure, if you asked them, they'd say I was the problem. Maybe I was. Maybe I was too stubborn, but who the hell needed an archaeologist to help them get laid? I guess it depended on whether he was hot or not. "Ivy." I jerked up at the sound of my name and shoved my phone in my pocket, ignoring the new message that came through. "What?" Kai wants to know if you can have a sleepover after your date. Vincent's eyes twinkled. I'm not talking to you anymore. With a shake of my head, I got up and left them laughing together like the worst team ever. Help me. Kai grabbed me and slipped behind me, holding onto my upper arms. I almost stumbled over as the force of his tall, muscular body wobbled my more than a little tipsy, much smaller one. What? Are we under attack? From aliens? No. Why do I need to protect you? FYI, I'd be no good if the aliens came either. Amanda, help me. I am not going to make out with you just to make her go away. I wasn't suggesting it, but now you have. Kai! I shrugged him off me, wiggling out of his grasp. Stop it. He sighed, slumping against the makeshift bar. Didn't Isabella send her home? Yes, but it looks like she took a 30-minute nap, popped some paracetamol, drank some water, and came back for more. Wow, props to her. I hadn't drunk half as much as she had, and I was seriously nearing my limit. But then again, I was a lightweight. Tori always said it made me a cheap date. Like I said, good. It meant I had an excuse to order the more expensive wine. Ivy, hello. Kai waved his hand in front of my face. Are you away with the aliens? You... Shush. I was thinking. About me? In your dreams, I snorted. What were you saying? I was saying that I really need you to let Amanda down for me. You know, nice and easy. Girls do that, don't they? I raised an eyebrow. Do what? In bars. Lie for your friends. Yes, but I usually tell annoying guys that she's a lesbian. Do you want me to tell Amanda that you're gay? He paused for a moment. I have nothing against gay people, but that usually means you do. My brother is gay. Okay, you win that round. He bit back a laugh. But I think my highly conservative, Bible Belt-living, Jesus-loving grandfather would roll over in his grave if another one of us came out. Are you saying you're in the closet? Are you? You're the one who won't sleep with me. So that makes me a lesbian? I rolled my eyes. I would sleep with you, Kai, but exactly that. Sleep. Can I grope you in your sleep? If you'd like a trip to the ER with a broken nose and an explanation about why you're there. He touched his nose. No, I need my ruggedly handsome good looks to catcall women from the top of scaffolding. Do you do that? No, but it's fun watching my friends when they do. He shrugged. I prefer to woo my women. Oh, shit. Is that what you've been doing for the last few hours? It usually goes better than this, he admitted. I grimaced. Sorry, you weren't exactly clear. He finished his drink and motioned for one for both of us. It was 10:30 and the party was still going. It looked much prettier now than earlier, with fairy lights strung up around the rooftop, threading through the tall fencing that was stopping overzealous old people from falling off the edge. The tables and chairs that had been set up each had a light in the middle of the table, and the makeshift bar we were standing at was similarly lit up, with both the bar surface and the top part shining bright with twinkling lights. All it did was show me one shameless fact. I was getting out-partied by pensioners. Again, I was a lightweight. I asked you out. How much clearer can I be? He put my new drink in front of me and waited for me to finish sucking the last of my cocktail out of the glass through the straw. I'm not sure how else I can tell you I'm attracted to you. Okay, now I know that's the tequila talking. Is it? He raised his eyebrows as he switched out my empty glass for the full one. Yes, because you're trying to get me drunk. I picked up the new glass pointedly. Is it working? I slapped his arm. Shut up. If you're so attracted to me, why has it taken you 8 months to tell me? Oh, wait, because it's the tequila. That and I was hoping you'd actually make out with me to put Amanda off. See? It's all about something else. He rubbed his hand down his face. That came out wrong. I put my straw between my lips and sipped, giving him the kind of look that told him he was correct. It had. Very, very wrong. Chapter 3. Maybe it is the tequila, Kai said, raising his glass. But all it's doing is giving me the balls to tell you I want you. I was loath to believe him. Maybe it was my own lack of self-confidence in the dating department, considering I didn't really have such a department, or maybe it was my gut telling me this was a very, very bad decision. Wait, what decision? I hadn't made one yet. I hadn't even entertained one. I didn't know what I was supposed to make a decision about. Lord, my brain was running away from me. "Shots!" came the shout from elsewhere on the roof. Before I could do a thing, Kai grabbed my hand and dragged me over to the long table that had been set up purely for this reason. How the hell were these oldies still drinking? And why was I still drinking? I'd only intended to be here for an hour. God, I was going to regret this tomorrow. Kai set me down in a chair and took the seat next to me. 2 shots were lined up in front of me, complete with the requisite lime wedges and salt shaker. I was wincing already. Vincent took the seat to my left, and Isabella Valentino and 55-year-old Mavis Barr took the empty ones to the right of Kai. 1, 2, no breaks. My upstairs neighbor Eddie Price held out his hands like he was the girls in the Fast and the Furious movies about to start a drag race. Thank God he wasn't wearing a miniskirt. That's all I could say. "Lick your hand, shake the salt, drink the tequila, suck the lime," Eddie barked. "Lick, salt, tequila, lime. Lick, shake, drink, suck. You know the rules." Great. Now I was drinking to the dictatorship of a pensioner. "Sounds like a good night to me," Kai muttered. I kicked him under the table. "And go!" I did as I was told. Licked the back of my hand, shook salt to lick, downed the tequila, and sucked on the lime. No sooner had I dropped the wedge than Eddie was barking at us to start the second one. I wasn't even sure I'd swallowed the tequila. Still, I did it. Lick, salt, lick, tequila, lime. I was one mouthful of tequila away from throwing up over the table. Wincing, I waved my hands that I was done and pushed back my chair, getting away from the crazies before I was coerced into even more shots. Kai followed me back to the bar, laughing, and we perched again on our stools and grabbed our drinks. "I can't believe you made me do that," I muttered, motioning for some water. I was handed a small plastic cup and downed it before sliding the cup back. "Straight tequila is the worst." He chuckled, leaning against the bar. "You haven't done one all night. If I didn't, Vincent would have, and you know the next round is without the lime." I still don't understand how these old people can party so long and so hard, I replied. I swear to God, I'm almost done. I literally cannot drink any more after this. His eyebrows shot up. "Really? Are you that much of a lightweight?" "Yup. I just can't take much more. Those shots might have finished me off." He downed the rest of his drink and motioned for another. "I need to catch up." I stared at him. "You're not still on this have a date kick, are you?" "No, I've given up on that. I thought I might charm you into bed instead." He took the bottle of beer he was handed and downed a third of it. "Any chance of that?" I kicked him. "I was joking." He laughed, putting the beer down. "You've made yourself perfectly clear, Ivy. You aren't interested. I'm genuinely enjoying hanging out with you, but it seems unfair if you're more drunk than I am." I narrowed my eyes. I wasn't entirely sure I trusted him, mostly because I knew that it wasn't that I wasn't interested. Oh, I was in. I was very interested in Kai Connors. What was under his shirt, in his pants, what it felt like to have his hands grip my ass. There was absolutely no denying that. I was also exceptionally pragmatic, and if I had to say that sleeping with my neighbor was a bad idea one more time, I was going to cut out my own tongue. "Look," I said, leaning forward. "It's not that I don't find you hot. I do. You are." "That's the tequila talking," he teased. "It absolutely is," I agreed, grinning. "But you're my neighbor." "And?" "I don't want to have to look you in the eye a week after having to fake an orgasm." "I love the fact you think you'll have to fake one." I snorted. Do you know how common it is for a woman to orgasm from intercourse alone? This is exciting, Amanda half slurred, joining the conversation. She slipped her arm around Kai's shoulders. I do, Kai. With me, it's every time, she said in a stage whisper, aka not a whisper at all. I finished the last mouthful of my tequila and put my glass on the bar. Ignoring his wide-eyed stare at me, I said sarcastically, I think I'll leave you to it. Ivy, yes, do. Run along. Amanda wiggled her fingers at me and took my seat the second I stood up. Would she jump in my grave as quick? Only if she fell in, drunk. Welp, that was bitchy, Ivy. I pushed the roof door open and let myself into the brightly lit stairwell. It was like a fucking fun fair in here, and I was delighted to find that I was actually sober enough to make my way down the stairs without tripping or stumbling. Only just. Score one for flat boots. It was a bit more difficult getting my key into the slot on my apartment door, but I managed it after a good 30 seconds of scrambling. After letting myself in, I let the door close behind me and let out a long breath. I didn't know if I was mad at myself for not telling Kai to come back to my place or amused that I'd left him on the roof with Amanda. I opened the fridge and stared into it. Against my better judgment, I pulled out the bottle of wine, noting there was barely enough left for half a glass. At this point, that wasn't going to make a massive difference, so I kicked off my boots and grabbed a clean glass to pour it into. I sipped it and sighed. It was far more palatable to me than the tequila I'd been drinking all night, and I leaned against the kitchen island so I could check my phone. There were 1,000 texts from Tori I had no intention of opening right now, so I put it down on the island, screen down, so I wasn't tempted. What a night. At the next party, I was going to be busy. Even if I wasn't, I'd go sit in a McDonald's for 6 hours if it meant getting out of it. I took a deep mouthful of wine. 3 knocks rocked my front door, and I paused. If this was Kai, I was going to kick him in the balls. Who is it? I called. It's me. Kai's muffled voice came through the door. Sorry, I don't know who me is. Ivy. Nope. Good night, me. He banged again. Ivy, open the damn door. That's a negative. I sipped my wine. Ivy. Yes, that is my name. Good boy. He wiggled the handle and the door swung open. Kai stared at me flatly for a moment before he said, If you're trying to keep someone out, maybe you should lock the door. I tilted my glass in his direction. A very valid point. Alternatively, you could not just barge into an apartment when the person who lives there has told you to go away. Also a very valid point. Apparently not valid enough for him to leave, because he just shut the door behind him. I'm surprised you got away from the Maenad. I put my glass down. The what? I waved a hand dismissively. Never mind, I've been binging True Blood. That vampire show? I think my sister likes that. Yep. I tell you this, I'm not into biting, but I would let Eric Northman eat me for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Probably a midnight snack, too. Kai's lips curved to one side. A midnight snack would be most fitting if he's a vampire. I clapped my hands over my mouth. I didn't mean to say that out loud. I know. That's why I made a point to respond. What do you want? You. Kai, we've been over this. No. You've just had a one-sided conversation in which you tell me all the reasons us having sex would be a bad idea, but you haven't let me raise a counter-argument. I folded my arms across my chest. This isn't a courtroom. You're right. If it were, I would have already won by now. You are extremely arrogant and cocky. Cocky? Yes. Arrogant? Not yet. I haven't started my argument. Fine. You have 30 seconds to convince me why having sex with you, my next-door neighbor, would be a good idea. Bearing in mind, I do not have one-night stands, and I never have. He stalked across the room with a mischievous glint in his eye. I was too close to the island, but before I could move, he was on me, gripping the edges of the counter, leaving me with no chance of escape. I swallowed, ignoring the way my heart thumped against my ribs. Kai dipped his head. The tip of his nose brushed against mine, and his exhale fluttered across my parted lips. 30 seconds, he murmured in his deep voice. 30 seconds, I confirmed, trying not to let him know his closeness was affecting me as much as it was. The noise rumbled in his chest, and my stomach clenched in response. He barely moved. He stayed exactly where he was, hands holding tightly to the counter, feet either side of mine, toned body just millimeters from my own decidedly less toned one. Face right in front of me. I was buzzing. My blood was thundering around my body, courtesy of my rapid heartbeat, and it felt as though 1,000 needy electric currents were darting all over my skin, leaving goosebumps trailing in their wake. Yet still, all there was Kai's lips hovering over mine, and the tickling sensation of every single exhale teasing me. And then, right as the longest 30 seconds of my life were about to be over, he said, "Because I'll fuck you so hard that you'll still feel my cock inside you next week." Chapter 4. I'd had worse offers in my life. What if I don't? Can I get a refund? I breathed. He smiled, leaning in. "Not feeling my cock inside you would be an easy fix," he murmured. "Simple process of seducing you and fucking you all over again." I swallowed. "I don't do one-night stands." "So I'll fuck you tomorrow, too. Problem solved." "That's not a solution." "I think you're protesting too much because it's easier to argue with me than admit you want me to." Damn it. I hated that he was right. "I saw the look in your eye when Amanda came over to me and basically tossed you out of the way. If looks could kill, she'd be 6 feet under." He brushed his lips over my cheek, dipping his head further so his lips ghosted my jaw. "Don't give in, Ivy." It was rude of her. It was rude of her. He agreed on a murmur, bringing his lips to my earlobe. "But I know you want me, Ivy. Protesting will do nothing but delay the inevitable." "And what exactly is the inevitable?" "You're so thorough with your protests." He kissed my jaw. I swallowed, clenching my fists against my jeans and pinching the material. "Your argument was poorly explained. A lack of substance." "The inevitable is you realizing your protests are futile. Giving in. Letting me kiss you, touch you, explore your entire body with my mouth until you're writhing and moaning and coming all over my tongue. Mother of God. Until you're wrapped around me so tightly that you're begging me to fuck you into next week. And I will. I'll fuck you so hard you'll forget your own name. My name. The day of the week. The month. Maybe even the year." He brought his lips back to hover over mine. "Is that a well-explained argument for why you should give in and let me fuck you until your bed breaks?" "First, if my bed breaks, you're buying me a new one." "That's fine. You can share mine until it arrives." I peered up and met his eyes, fighting back a smile. "Second, it's a one-time thing." "You just said you don't do one-night stands." "I don't do my neighbors either, but here I am, about to do my neighbor." "Does that mean I won this round?" "It means you need to shut the fuck up and make good on every single thing you just said, or you'll be sorry." "You're so feisty," he said, running his hands up my arms until he was cupping my face. "I like that." "Is that the tequila again?" "Is your tequila the one making this decision?" "Oh, stop talking, Kai." I grabbed his collar and pulled him down until our lips met. It was a little awkward, given that his hands were on my face, but he swiftly adjusted them until they were cupping my neck instead, holding my lips against his. The taste of tequila was rich on his lips, and I melted into him as warmth shot through my body. His lips were soft, but the kiss was firm, and it lit all my nerve endings on fire. Kai's body was hard and hot against mine, and I wound my fingers into his shirt. He dragged my lower lip between his teeth. A shiver racked my body right as he broke contact, only to kiss me once more. It was intoxicating, being kissed by him, like 20 shots of tequila all hitting at the same time, making the world spin uncontrollably and headily around you. I could barely focus on a thing as he flicked his tongue against mine, begging to deepen the kiss. My fingers flexed as I let him in, letting him kiss me harder and deeper. Kai moved his hands so one was wrapped around the back of my neck and the other was traveling down my body, exploring every inch of my side until he grabbed my ass and pulled me right against him. His burgeoning cock pressed against my stomach, and I clenched my thighs together. Desire was spreading through my body at lightning speed, and I felt everything from the goosebumps that prickled my arms to the throbbing of my clit. Wrapping my arms around his neck, I kissed him just as thoroughly as he was kissing me. He slid his other hand down my body to cup my ass, and, with his leg, eased my thighs apart until he was standing between them. He kissed me hungrily for what felt like an hour, nipping and licking at my lips, desperately gripping my ass until it almost hurt. In a good way. I didn't know anything could hurt in a good way until now, like little sparks of pleasure mixed with borderline pain shooting across my skin. Kai pulled back, releasing me quickly. In the time it took me to blink, he crossed his arms at the hem of his shirt and pulled it over his head, throwing it to the side. Holy shit, he was the hottest thing this side of the Atlantic. He was tanned, thanks to all his time outside as a builder, and I suspected his muscles were thanks to that, too. He wasn't ripped like a superstar athlete, but if he lay on his back, there would be no issue slurping tequila out of the ridges of his abs, let me say that. He smirked. Like what you see? Looking him in the eye, I said, No. He laughed and pulled me against him again. This kiss was sloppier than the last, but no less desperate. He reached down and tugged up my shirt, making us pause for the split second it took for him to tear it over my head. His gaze roamed hungrily over the black lace bra that cupped my breast, and he slid his hands up my side to do the same with his hands. A low noise hummed from his chest, and he kissed me before I could ask him what the hell it was. He didn't care. Neither did I. Not really. His lips found mine once again. It didn't last long before he was kissing my jaw and using one hand to wind into my hair and pull my head back. Exposing the curve of my neck to him, he dragged his lips down the sensitive skin, and his hot exhale on my pulse point made me shiver. It took everything in me to control my breathing, but I feared I was fighting a losing battle. Every part of my body was already tingling, from the hairs at the base of my skull to the clenching of my thighs as need built between my legs. Kai kept kissing me until his mouth reached the curve of my breasts. He deftly undid the clasp between them and slid his hands over them as my bra fell away. I reached up and slid the straps off one by one as he continued exploring me with his mouth. His tongue took the place of one of his hands, flicking over my nipple, and I gasped. My bra dropped to the floor next to me as he palmed my left breast and used his mouth on the other. I was so blaming all this on the tequila. He switched, moving his mouth to my left one. It didn't take him long before he dropped to his knees, slowly dragging his lips down my stomach to the waistband of my jeans. Just like that, he undid the button. The zipper swiftly followed, and before my brain had caught up to what he was doing, I was standing completely naked in front of him. A blush rose up my cheeks, and Kai smirked. Get on the counter. What? Ivy, if you don't get on the counter and sit with your legs open, I'm going to make you. Why do I need to get on the counter? So I can put my head between your legs and make you come in my mouth. Oh, boy. I gripped the edge of the counter and hauled myself onto it. Opening my legs was another matter. He was standing right there, staring at me, just waiting for me to do it. But I couldn't. Ivy. My name was a low rumble on his tongue. When I didn't move, he did. He grabbed my knees and swung them outward, opening my legs whether I liked it or not. His lips found mine hungrily, and he kissed me deeply as he slid his hands up my thighs until they reached the top and his thumbs were perilously close to my pussy. Just like he had before he'd taken off my jeans, His mouth left mine and went on a journey down my body. This time, there was no waistband to stop him. With his fingers splayed on my thighs, he dipped his head and kissed the sensitive skin just at the apex. His breath was hot, and I leaned back, dropping my head because there was no way I'd be able to watch him. He was slow and deliberate in all his movements, from the way he covered my pussy with his mouth to the way he flicked the tip of his tongue over my wetness. He searched out my clit, finding it quickly, and I dropped back to my elbows. He explored me thoroughly with his tongue, pushing my legs open farther, licking and sucking and fucking me with his tongue. He held nothing back. At least, I hoped he didn't. God only knew what it would be like if he did. The orgasm rocketed through my body, and my hips bucked, grinding my pussy against his mouth. He kept his tongue there for the entirety of the orgasm, riding it out with me until I couldn't take it anymore and had to pull back. My whole body shuddered when he moved. The sound of his belt being unbuckled jerked me into action, and I peered over at him as he dropped his jeans and stepped out of them. His cock was hard and fighting against the red material of his boxer briefs for freedom. My mouth dried out at the sight of him. He was beautiful from head to toe, and if I was breaking my rule of no one-night stands, I was glad it was with him. Kai pulled his boxers down and walked over to me. He pulled me up so I was sitting, and his cock pressed against my pussy since I was on the edge. A tiny whimper escaped me, and he grinned as he kissed me. "Please tell me you have a condom," he said against my mouth. I shook my head. "I don't have much use for them." "Damn it, Ivy." "What? You have more use for them than me. You're the one with the cock. Also, I don't have a sex life." He sighed, but he was fighting a laugh. "That doesn't help right now." I bit my lip. "I'm on the pill." Kai raised one eyebrow. "No, I mean I'm on the pill, as in I'm OCD about taking it, every single day." "Are you sure?" "Am I sure I take the pill every day, or am I sure about what I'm suggesting?" "Either. Both." "Yes and yes. Besides, if you give me anything, it's not like you can run away. Your front door is 12 feet from me." His lips twitched as he fought a smile, but he didn't say a word. His answer was a kiss so deep and hungry that I felt it in every inch of my body. I wrapped my arms around his neck and returned it, acutely aware of the fact my wet pussy was pressed right against his hard cock. My hips jerked, grinding my clit against his length, and he groaned into my mouth. I did it again. "Ivy, if you do that one more time, I'm going to fuck you right here on the counter." I did it again. A growl rumbled deep in his throat, and he grabbed my hips. I laughed and released him as he yanked me so my butt was on the edge of the counter. He reached between us and wrapped his hand around his cock, positioning it at the opening to my pussy. And pushed inside me. I gasped as my muscles adjusted to his cock, and he held himself still while he kissed me. The kiss was so deep, so needy, so desperate that I barely noticed when he began to move his hips, rocking his cock inside me. All right, I noticed. A lot. In my defense, there was a fair amount of cock to notice. Also, it was inside me. Kai moved, drawing his cock in and out of me. It was a slow rock that hit deep, and I moaned into his mouth, a wordless plea for him to do it harder. He did, obliging me, but it didn't last long. Just when the heat was beginning to build inside, he pulled out of me and dragged me off the counter. I squeaked when he turned me around and bent me over the very counter I'd just been sitting on. Instinctively, I moved up onto my tiptoes as Kai parted my ass cheeks. He rubbed his cock along the length of my pussy, brushing against my clit and making me jerk, then slipped back inside me. He wasn't so gentle this time. With his fingers digging into my hips, he fucked me hard. Sweat dripped down my back as heat rushed through my veins, leaving my heartbeat thundering in my ears. There was nothing to grip onto on the counter. My fingers clenched desperately against the slick surface. Pleasure until anything I'd ever felt built higher and higher inside me until it exploded with one hard, deep stroke of Kai's cock. I cried out. My whole body clenched, and my legs shook like crazy as they struggled to keep my weight. Kai pulled out and with a grunt said, "Bedroom." I made some weird squeaking noise that was supposed to be an "I can't." Apparently, he understood, because he swept me up in his arms, Disney princess style, and carried me through the apartment to my room. Dropping me on the bed far gentler than I thought he would have, I'd barely caught my breath when he leaned over me and immediately picked up where he left off. His kiss swallowed my gasp of surprise, and I wrapped my legs around his waist. Kai moved his hands up my body until his fingers laced with mine, and he pinned my hands to the bed, leaving me completely at his mercy. I was happy to hand myself over. Again. And hand myself over I did. Chapter 5. He fucked me hard again, completely, desperately, and I felt another orgasm building inside me. Goosebumps, tingles, shortness of breath. I felt it all, and I told him with moan after moan against his lips. I clenched my pussy muscles hard, tightening around his cock. He groaned, and the vibrations of it danced across my skin. Our lips parted, and I gasped, crying out again as I reached the peak of my pleasure and the orgasm flushed through my body. It held me prisoner, making me shake from head to toe. Kai's own deep, guttural cry as he came inside me broke through the fog just for a moment, just long enough for me to release my grip on his hands so my nails were no longer cutting into his skin. "Mother of fucking God," he mumbled into my neck, letting go of my hands so he could move. He was basically crushing me at this point, but I wasn't entirely sure I would be able to breathe if he wasn't, so it wasn't exactly a big deal. "Was that the tequila?" I breathed. "No, I'm just that good." Kai pushed up and slowly moved out of me while I laughed. "I think it was the tequila." "I think it was the fact I've had at least half a boner since we had dinner," he replied, stumbling as he straightened. "Fuck me. Just did." I rolled over onto my side to catch my breath for a moment. Kai dropped onto the bed next to me. On my side. "What are you doing?" I murmured. "If you think I can crawl to my apartment right now, you can think again," he replied, tugging at the sheets. "I don't care if you stay." "So what's the problem?" "That's my side of the bed." "You're single and you have a side?" I holed myself over so I was on my other side. "Technically, I have the entire bed, but if my best friend stays, she sleeps on the right and I sleep on the left. Ergo, that's my side." Wordlessly, he dragged his sexy self over to the right side of the bed. "Thank you." I forced myself to sit up. After a few rapid blinks to focus the room, I got up, using the dresser to steady me. "All right over there?" The smugness that riddled his tone made me throw a tube of lipstick in his general vicinity. "Fine, thank you," I replied primly. "You look like you've been fucked 7 ways to Sunday." "You sound like you want to crawl naked across the hall to your own bed," I shot back, pushing off the dresser so I could head for the bathroom. He didn't reply, but his laughter followed me through the wall and into the bathroom where I shut the door with a little more force than necessary. Boy, I really hoped my downstairs neighbor was still at the party, or I wouldn't be able to look old Marigold Targo in the face until, well, she died. I waddled over to the toilet and sat down, cleaning myself up with wads of tissue paper and 3 flushes before I was finally ready to pee. God, sex as a woman was so high maintenance. In my next life, I was coming back as a man. After I was done there, I brushed my teeth and cleaned my face of makeup, or what was left of it, anyway. My mascara was smudged around my eyes, my foundation was breaking up on my forehead, and any traces of lipstick were long gone. Fresh-faced and freshly wiped, I tossed the towel in the laundry basket and returned to my bedroom. Kai was on his back, mouth wide open, fast a-freaking sleep. I laughed, grabbing a shirt and panties from the drawer. After tugging them on, I turned off the light and climbed into bed next to Kai. He took up at least half of the bed, a fact I wasn't too happy about. Tori was an edge sleeper, but a solid poke in his arm didn't move him at all. Instead of griping, I rolled over and shut my eyes, with a deft flick of my hair in his direction. He snorted, rolling over with his back to me, and I grinned, snuggling down into the covers. The mattress creaked, and I blinked into the brightness of the sun as it streamed through the window. Ouch. That hurt my head. Sorry, Kai whispered. Kai, why was he— Oh, shit. Yeah. Whoops. Do you mind if I rinse off in your shower? I waved a hand at him in a go-ahead motion and rolled over, sprawling out across the bed. The click of the door announced his departure, and I blew out a long breath. Last night was probably the best sex I'd had in my life, and I wasn't too keen to see him this morning. I was pretty sure that would be written all over my face. So yes, I was going to stay here, in bed, until he'd gone. I squeezed my eyes shut tight. I could go back to sleep. It looked early. I'd had a kind of late night, and I didn't have to work until 4 this afternoon. The shower started. The water pounded against the shared wall of the rooms, and it took me all of 5 seconds to realize one very sad fact. I was not getting back to sleep. It was annoying. I was one of those people who, once you woke them up, were awake. I sighed. After a small fight with the sheets, I extracted myself from the bed and grabbed a pair of pajama shorts from the dresser. I put them on and headed for the kitchen to make some coffee. My phone was still on the island counter, and I blushed when I looked at it. Our clothes were still strewn across the floor, so after turning on the coffee maker, I did a quick sweep around the apartment for our clothes. I put Kai's on the end of my bed and tossed my own in the laundry basket. Now, how did he take his coffee? Wait. Screw that. I needed to clean my island countertop. There was no way I needed an unexpected visit from my grandmother when I hadn't yet cleaned, well, you know, off the top. That took a further 5 minutes. By the time the entire counter was clean and dry and sparkling again, Kai was done in the shower and had darted into my room wrapped in a gray towel. Not that I'd looked much. I put the cream in my coffee and hit the button on the machine to fill his mug. I didn't know how he took his, or even if he liked coffee, but I had a feeling he wasn't going to leave immediately. I was right. He walked out of my room wearing nothing but his jeans. His socks were clearly tucked into his pocket, and the waistband of his boxers peeked out from the ball he'd made of his shirt. I eyed him. Are you trying to announce to the entire building we had sex? If I were, I'd have crawled home naked last night. He grinned. Do I smell coffee? I pointed to the Eeyore mug on the counter. I don't know how you like it. Cream, 2 sugars. He proceeded to add both to his mug, stirred, and took a seat on one of the stools at the island. He hesitated before putting his mug down. You cleaned this, right? I hit him with a flat stare. Unless my vagina smells like bleach, then yes, I cleaned it. Good point. He took a large mouthful of coffee before setting his mug down. Sorry for waking you. It's fine, I'm a pretty light sleeper. I'd get woken up by my own shadow. I sipped my coffee. About last night. Kai held up his hands. Only last night, I know. As far as anyone else is concerned, it never happened. My cheeks flushed and I tucked some hair behind my ear. Good. Okay. Ivy, you don't need to blush. He picked up his mug and cradled it. It's not your fault I'll be thinking about bending you over a counter for the next week. I choked on my coffee. Stop that. But it's so fun to embarrass you. Oh, go away. I tossed a dishcloth at him. I have to shower and do laundry. Go on, go away. Do you often kick men out of your apartment before they've finished their coffee? I don't have men in my apartment. I threw another cloth at him, and he laughed, catching it. We're not mentioning last night ever again, do you hear me? He slid both cloths across the island at me. Don't worry, Ivy, he replied, then finished the rest of his coffee. His mug clinked against the counter, and he scooped up his clothes. As far as I'm concerned, I only get to do that to you in my dreams. With one final wink, he grabbed his phone and keys out of his pocket and left my apartment. I stalked over and slammed the door behind him, a tight groan escaping my throat. At least we were both clear about one thing. We were never, ever going to mention last night again. Thank God. This recording of The One Night Stand Next Door was presented by Dreamscape Media, LLC. Narrated by Avery Reed and produced by Dreamscape Media, LLC. Text copyright 2020 by Emma Hart. Sound recording copyright 2020 Dreamscape Media, LLC. Thank you for listening. Please check dreamscapepublishing.com for Dreamscape's latest releases.